I always loved that song from Draken. And in case you guys don't know, this was actually the intro I used for my Thanksgiving special last year, my top 10 video game foods. So you can check that out. Welcome back to another chapter of Final Combat. Last time, Taven actually cruised up or traversed through Khan's fortress, deserted an outworld, but it wasn't deserted for long, as Shao Kahn actually littered the place with guards and traps. He knew there were intruders coming. He knew about Taven. He knew that Taven was coming up, and he was actually assisted by Hanzo. And he actually met up with Melina, and remembering Oren's advice, he actually injured her instead of killed her in combat. And he met up with Shijinko, who used to be the Wanderer, the Adventurer in Mortal Kombat Deception, and in this case, the Return of the Dragon King, as Damashi deceived him, who turned out to be Onaga. He reunited the Kami Dogu, all for one piece, Shinnok's amulet, and Hanzo remembered that Shijinko was responsible for bringing chaos to all the realms because of what he did, and Hanzo failed to stop him in the Nexus, of course. So he knew all too well of him and deception, and he was about to deceive Taven by mimicking Khan and such. So Hanzo convinced Taven to let him go, to let him be in the prison cell, let him rot. I'm sorry guys, but I'm not a huge Shijinko fan. He got what he deserved. So Hanzo helped Taven up, and they met up with the overlords, Onaga, Khan, Quan Chi, and Shang Tsung, and they were about to settle their differences, put aside their differences before they should fight each other for Blaze's prize. So they actually made a very hasty escape. It was a very hasty escape, and oh, by the way, they met up with Motaro too. So they escaped from Khan's fortress, and at the signal, Kero conjured a portal, and they wound up in Edenia. They wound up near the palace. So, let's get this out of the way. Alright, continuation 9, Armistice. Alright, the source that the Oriental sensed from Taven was in fact when he found Blaze's essence back in Arctica, hence waking up and watching him after his meditation. And while gods usually aren't affected by temporal changes, fusion for once was as the Oriental conjured it onto him before the heat blast onto the Red Dragon base. I forgot to put these things out there earlier, so bear with me. Back on the tropical island, some tension was eased as the quartet witnessed Hanzo and Taven's hasty escape from Khan's fortress. Knowing they were safe, silence covered over it like a weighted blanket. This is all my fault. This never would have taken place. Everyone looked at the Searle for a monologue. What's wrong, Kero? The Edenian wondered with concern. The Oriental and Oren followed her gaze. Blaze, I never should have arisen Dagon so soon. I lost the telepathic signal from Blaze and was unable to receive it. In a panic, I assumed it was time for Armageddon, thus his tyranny. I see. I too was unable to sense Blaze, but I never thought it'd be the signal for Armageddon coming to pass. The mysterious elemental sulked, trying to process the situation. I don't understand. Something must have happened to him. The woman's eyes lit up as she touched his shoulder. Can you somehow trace Blaze back to see what transpired? Well, maybe rewind the scenarios leading to their lost contact? I can try, but it's going to take a considerable amount of concentration to do so. This can be going back several millennia. It may be done. The trio encouraged him. He closed his eyes as if he was meditating again. Fragments of Kitana talking to Blaze flashed through his mind. Then it was as if time was being rewound like a VHS tape, making the fire spawn shred backwards quickly. Following the bringer of Armageddon, his vision sent him to a subterranean cavern filled with lava. He was stuck in it. After a few moments, the warrior's eyes shot open with a gasp. I think I found him! Then conjured another mystical portal over the same projection they were watching from, displaying the location. That's the lava shrine! That was where Onaga was reborn, taking the form of reptile. So that was that dragon egg. I must head there, but unfortunately it's still an outworld. Try and see if you can find the answers there. It shouldn't be too hard since you have exceptional pyrokinesis, as Cairo observed. He affirmed and went through the rip. He scanned the tepid place, never being greatly affected by it, not even dehydration or heat stroke. Still, his eyes never picked up any evidence of Blaze. He hesitated and closed his eyes again, refocusing those same illusions. He suddenly heard some incantations emanating from several holy men. The clatter made the chronokinetic hesitate and observe the imprisonment of Blaze being stuck in a distant lava pool. The fanatics were chanting around a large dragon egg, freshly incubated, within the spiky circular gateway. That's Onaga! He sped time forward, and the vision showed him the same egg hatching, then shoot out a blinding streak of light into a reptilian figure. The volley made it nearly hard to make out the poor, possessed body. It began to churn and transform, enlarging the vessel, sprouting a gigantic wingspan, and made the victim drop his hands before he ascended, had his eyes gleam in flames, and let out an ear-piercing roar as if belonging to a tyrannosaur. The Oriental startled, and the lava shrine returned to its basic condition. He immediately conjured a portal back and gave them the lowdown. So Blaze was held against his will, just as I was. Yes, Cairo. Blaze was held captive by Onaga's holy men, bound to his imprisonment within the lava shrine. That was until the egg finally hatched and took the form of reptile. Cairo just hung his head, wishing this would have happened, counting Dagon's abuse over him. The Edenian just tended to him. Do not be troubled. It's all in the past now, but we still must prepare for Armageddon and watch over Taven. Where is that portal gone to? To Edenia, near the majestic palace. Good! He should be safe for the moment, and if I'm correct, our enemies shall march forward to the Pyramid of Argus by dawn. Last-minute preparations must be met. The quartet observed through the usual portal as they watched over Taven, who was wandering with Hanzo. Our enemies will be marching into Edenia, and perhaps to the Pyramid of Argus first for the Battle of Armageddon. You'll be safe within the royal walls. I even remember guiding Kung Lao there, before we found intel involving Onaga. That dragon! He was there, wasn't he? Were you able to defeat him? Yes, with the help of 4 other champions. I rectified my failure in stopping Shi Jingo. Liu Kang's spirit led us to victory, along with other combatants, one for each realm, excepting the Order realm, of course. With his strategy in shattering each of the Kami Dogu, we have won. The former raid's complexion changed to disbelief. Still, Nightwolf was able to bound the soul into the nether realm, and I can't understand how he would have been restored and broke free from his external prison. He was trapped by the shaman's tainted spirits. Shinnok was also imprisoned in hell for eternity as well, when Kwai and I sealed him away in his amulet. I can actually relate to him for once, and having a family of corruption. Quan Chi was responsible for the deaths and my clan. It took me long enough to see the truth. I see. Shinnok and I are not the only victims of deceit, just as you with the Elder Gods. I remember Shinnok's words in another realm, as I was negotiating with Havoc. Oh, we got a flashback. In the Chaosrealm, he defended the cleric as they confronted his associates Dairou and Darrius, reconverting them into chaos then order. Rather than being brainwashed by Shinnok's double, at least that was what Havoc believed. Hanzo stated they were once warriors of order serving Sato and working for Hotaru. Upon the death of his family, Dairou turned rogue and escaped prison, thus being a fugitive of order and becoming a mercenary. After encountering Havoc and Darrius, he declared his perfect moment was that working for Chaos. It wasn't long as Darrius began a riot at Sato, and that Dairou was about to be executed since he once served as a guard there, and for his treachery. They'd sided with Havoc ever since, and it seemed that he and Hanzo restored their memories and why they converted in the first place. Armageddon would be the perfect opportunity to show off their rage to law and order. Hanzo described Sato and Hotaru as a mix between a Soviet and Jehovah's Witness, which is ironic, because Russia bans that zealous religion, and we should ban it too, but it's a mixture of the two, in which Taven was clueless. Hanzo realized that, like Shinnok, he knew well on declaring vengeance and consuming his being. Once he was assigned as champion, the Elder Gods promised to bring back his family. Remembering how petty they were to Raiden and Liu Kang, with Earthrealm in peril and merging with Outworld, he affirmed he shall accept their losses and devote his heart to Takeda as his second son. Hanzo then recalled Shinnok's private chat on losing his own sanity from corruption, and thus Hanzo decided to keep his promise and attain the amulet against Raiden's warnings, so he knew where to go in the temple. Oh man, he's going under Raiden's nose. He's going under the radar. I knew Shinnok was an Elder God, but I didn't know that he had fallen. Raiden retorted that it wasn't interfering with mortal affairs, but causing destruction by his madness. Precisely. I must find a portal back to Earth so I can turn a blind eye upon Raiden's advice, and spend my last minutes with my reformed family and clan. Suddenly, the two men overheard an organ play a festive tune in key A emitting from the palace, which was the intro. Knowing they were a few feet away, they headed straight to it. Inside the royal eatery, there was an entire banquet. Following the delicious aromas and the source of the inviting tune, Hanzo and Taven observed the exotic displays. One of the Edenian guards with his mouth watering was pleased to see them. During the night, Baraka was on a hunting spree. This is fabulous! He described he roasted a variety of his own specialty meals, including lizards, in thin strips similar to asparagus, the new red dragon species sizzling and leaking grease in slabs, a plethora of bugs as appetizers, gator chops, and stuffed snakes with the venom evaporated. The monarchs included their specialties, including... I shouldn't have repeated it. They had their signature pie located in the far right. Hanzo shook off the distractions. As much as I'd love to stay, I still need to find someone to converge a portal. He spoke over the talkative crowds and organs. He then shoved his way through some of the crowd as he drastically looked for someone to form a portal back home. He doubted Keiru's designated location was a good idea. One of the knights was surprised to see him again, and he suggested for Hanzo to head to the throne room, where King Sharad may be of some assistance. The ninja stormed up and exasperated for the Legion of Souls to make a rip, in order to reunite with Kenshi and Takeda at the Japanese headquarters. He did it gladly, forming a lime rip. He was almost breathless by the time he emerged from it. Hanzo? Kenshi? I spotted the green portal, and I was on my way to the Shirai Ryu base. Are you alright? As the ticking time bomb was trying to catch his breath in his racing heart, the blind man managed to stop and read his racing mind, tuning out any dialogue. You seem desperate. About Armageddon? I wanted to meet Takeda one last time. As do I. I was on my way here after I sensed Aiko's mind drifting away. Another flashback. At the academy, she was in a sudden hypnotic trance. As she hesitated and zoned out, he knew this was her weakness. But someone was transmitting a message through her. That the warriors must not be deceived of the so-called prize after they would destroy Blaze. That Taven's quest was a setup, as was Dagon's. And the only way to prevent Armageddon was the same cryptic words. He must win. Raiden became urgent over their words he heard in his visions. Aiko murmured, "Their hearts, one and together." Afterwards the thrall wore off, and Raiden kept the strategy to himself. Kenshi queried who sent her the transmission, and she described him being so familiar, feeling a certain warmth, and his voice was just so soothing. Kenshi knew from the protector that Armageddon was now imminent as he gazed onto the amulet, which showed numerous cracks. Kenshi then decided to prepare to alert the special forces, and soon spend his last minutes with Takeda and Hanzo before they must rendezvous at the Edenian Palace. I was just in the middle of a banquet. Baraka had made all sorts of exotic meats. Kenshi pushed Hanzo back a foot by a telekinetic push, milliseconds before a rush of chilling air. All of a sudden, a nearby rock became frozen and covered in a blue translucence. Hanzo forced himself up as he looked at his assailant. Sub-Zero! Why would you attack me? I thought we made a pact. Bihan? So you remember me, dear friend. Have you also remembered how you killed me? When you unleashed your undead foul breath onto me at the first tournament? Uh-oh. Rose a hand. Yes, I know, and I regret it. I always thought you were responsible for my clan's and family's deaths, but not anymore. Quan Chi deceived me. It was you, and I made peace with your brother. Sub-Zero, stop. Why are you defending this dishonorable murderer? He slain me and forced me into the Netherrealm. He was a Wraith Bihan, just as you were. I guess you managed to make a portal after stealing the Lin Kuei's equipment when they failed to reason with you. How dare you! I know how the advanced technology of the Lin Kuei work. I work for the Special Forces, and I also happen to read minds. Hanzo is innocent, and I can prove it. Nevertheless, his words seemed minute as he avoided a swift charge from him. I should have known you'd be more cold-hearted than your brother is. Fight! Kenshi fought Bihan. The emancipated cryokinetic did give Kenshi a brain freeze at times, although his Sento gave him some endurance, and diced through the chunks, even Hanzo from a distance. He mostly relied on his swift kicks and psychokinesis instead of his katana for combat. Luckily, he held firm on the slippery terrain Bihan conjured, thanks to his telekinesis. Even the telekinetic slam gave him the critical advantage, counteracting the aggressive warrior with the unthawed heart. He was able to stun him and impact shortly. You work with high tech, you say? Then you must know of the Cyber Initiative. Sector provided Hanzo the data necessary on finding out his true enemy. It is not you, it's Quan Chi. He has deceived you both, thus you two killing each other. You both lost your souls to two sorcerers, and we have the answers. Now stay put! concentrated more as his senso began to illuminate in a pink hue. I too was once consumed by vengeance, until my allies assisted me through it. Armageddon is drawing near, and we and your brother need your help. Quan Chi is our only enemy, and I have a third eye despite my blindness. Kenshi then projected the blurry recordings that looked as gritty and red as if belonging to the virtual boy, with the muffled conversations between him and the former Grandmaster. The Oni dropped a series of bones from a thick sack as payment to him. Hanzo knows the truth, and does not wish to fight you any longer. So, his compatriot's head was imbued in turquoise for a short while as Kenshi carried over his memories onto the uncontrollable elemental. Even figments of Hanzo forgiving Kwai before he relocated entered his mind. You must put aside your quarrels, Bihan, for the sake of your brother, your clan, your existence before everything is erased by Blaze. The field dissipated and Bihan stood on his feet. Hanzo just walked closer to the duo, never showing any traces of malice, nor his creepy flaming skull. He doesn't have it anymore, although he does have a sleeping beast inside, just as you do, noob Saibot. Don't call me that! Best not to stir the waters under the bridge. His ears perked up as he heard distant cries. Hanzo and I have some business to attend to. With a baby. You better set things right. After that preachy speech, they simply just walked away and toward Sakita's cries. Way to go, Kenshi. That'll show him. Meanwhile, in the Edenian banquet, Taven observed the numerous food choices, especially with the exotic meats, before he spotted the sole provider who was sharpening his blades. Hey, you're a Tarkatan. Baraka? Fear not, Taven. I don't wish to harm you. Besides, I'd be too exhausted from all the hunting and the preparations I'd made for this feast following Armageddon. We need all the protein and nutrients we can get. So, you actually side with the Royal Guard? Indeed. I had been an ally to Queen Sindel and King Gerard, albeit indirectly since my more treacherous kind has been banned from the Edenian border. Much like Aiko, I had traveled through time by an unknown cause. A Tarkatan taking on the good side? Alas, I wish Melina was part of our ranks. Before he had a chance to object to one of his assailants, the crowd was aghast as a billow went through. Why wasn't I invited to this soiree? All the denizens were either speechless or speaking in odd tongues, as they beheld a lord in black tread through them like deer in headlights. The Edenian faced him and was just as surprised. Bo Raicho? Well, hello. It's been ages since I last saw you, Taven. Oh man, Bo Raicho is back. They made a tight handshake before Li Mei followed. Master! Li Mei! She explained on the predicament after their reunion, as a gathering before Armageddon in which the surrounding Edenians and Outworlders were trying to cope with their nervousness. I thought you were dead by the Solnado. Kung Lao told me all about our victory over the Deadly Alliance, and we lost Hanzo the same. Armageddon, you say? I bet that'll suffice why the Elder Gods brought me back on my feet. And I was prophesied to be the preventer of Armageddon. I'll see if I can put an end to my brother Dagon and Blaze as well. Bo gave Taven a quizzical look. What about Rain? What about him? That snobby so-called prince. Bo laid one of his ungulate hands on his shoulder. Kid, there's so much more about your troubled half-brother of yours. You must have known him. Half-brother? That arrogant prig I met in Antarctica? I never even heard of him. Because he was the bastard of your father, Argus. This made Taven pause for a moment. Even Bo had some grudges with his parent. I'm listening. Raiden was destined as the true noble prince of Edenia, all because he was a demigod, the oldest heir Argus ever had. However, he abandoned him once he was born, to hide the affair with Arma. Delia was only you and Dagon's mother, but Raiden was taken in by commoners. He eventually turned rogue after finding out the secret, and decreed to be disowned by both of his sperm and egg donors. By the gods, Dagon was enraged after learning about the quest, thus killing them. Am I really destined to be as corrupt? Even Orin warned me there's a setup. A very rough upbringing indeed. Rain might have slain his mother too before serving Khan. He and Dagon always let their ego take the best of them because of their own heritage. It seems you are their golden child. Damnation! First Shinnok's family went corrupt, and now mine! Good thing I would still have Orin and Cairo. I'm sorry to talk flack about your family, but only the dear dragons and your mother aren't the treacherous ones. And if I'm correct, you may be the successor on Edenia's protector god. What? Me? Yes, Taven. Oh, wait, who is it? Yes, Taven. Which is why we need you to lead our forces to victory. Dagon and Rain would surely oppose us. The army of darkness will attack at daybreak. I wonder if my most prominent pupils Liu Kang and Kung Lao know all this. I bet Master Raiden and Fujin are preparing them. Also, this is not the time for drinking outworld ale. We must partake cautiously. The others nodded. And that was Chameleon, by the way. Liu Kang must be spending his last moments with Liu Kang must be spending his last moments with Katana, Aiko said. And he wanted to prepare his disciples for the worst. The fractures became deep and frequent upon his amulet, symbolizing that Armageddon was imminent. We must hurry. We cannot delay the inevitable. As I had word from Edenia, our enemies shall be marching to the Pyramid of Argus by tomorrow's dawn. Wait, who is it? I must prepare each of you for the final battle. He hesitated for a minute before he gathered his thoughts. Kung Lao, do you remember your training before the first tournament? Yes, Lord Raiden. Liu Kang and we were given a variety of trials to see who would participate, as there must be one representative from each realm. Each faction, apparently. You became second to Liu Kang, though he became skeptical. He soon left for America to avoid the responsibility of his destiny, and he lost his brother Chan, too. You were chosen by default, until he returned and went on the path of vengeance, which is why I sent you directly. He then faced the other combatants. Kai, Aiko, Nightwolf, Frederick, you must all sharpen your skills before the calamity. Only the top warriors will be chosen. Hone your skills well. Fujin and I will judge you from there. Everyone obliged. I believe Liu Kang may have some intimate moments with Katana. He may not be... A light blue rip opened, and out walked the Grand Champion. The group couldn't help but cheer. He's here, brother. Excellent. Liu Kang, you must organize our tests for the ultimate battle. Be prepared. So, Liu Kang's finally back. Raiden and Fujin were the judges for the trials. For the trials, their topmost skilled warriors must pass. And these are the test your might, test your sight, and test your balance. They were trials. They were used as trials before the first tournament to see who was qualified. Nice way. Raiden chose Liu Kang to be first since he was the unstoppable champion. Most seasoned combatant. Basically, it's test your might from the original game. I don't want to go through this. Liu Kang passed. Raiden automatically healed, utilizing his Jinsei extraction. They can be pretty painful, especially the button mashing. Neighboring monks cheered. Second was Kung Lao. There was Ruby and Diamond. Everyone was just flabbergasted, especially Liu and Aiko. His arm was immobilized, but it was healed. Third was Nightwolf. Commandered his wolf Kiba to merge with him for the power boost, the usual. And he made it up to Ruby. Fourth was Kai, who had the same prowess as the Matoken. Frederick passed the Diamond. Lastly, the Cardiokinetic, who couldn't overcome the Steel Mass. Needless to say, Aiko is like the weakest. In the end, the results were tallied, and they moved on to the next trial. Next trial to test your sight. A series of cups. Basically, what was it, Deadly Alliance? It's the same as that. First challenge consisted of 5. Wind God shifted them rapidly. Increase of velocity in cups. And the final trial was 10 cups, with a blindingly fast rotation. Liu went up to 9. Lao and Kai went up to 8. Frederick and Nightwolf up to 7. And Aiko with 6 due to her nearsightedness and slow vision. Kinda like me. The third trial was test your balance, and instead of using rocks or stones, they used beans. So it was more annoying. So Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Frederick, and Nightwolf managed to cross it. And Kai only made it to 2/3 of the way before falling into a river. Aiko had a poor gait, crossed nearly halfway. The soak was humiliating upon their defeats, especially for the only female in the group. Returning to the square within the White Lotus, the final results were tallied, and first place was Liu Kang and Kung Lao, second place was Nightwolf, third was Frederick, fourth was Kai, last was Aiko. Of course, she hung her head in disappointment and embarrassment, knowing she wasn't passable enough. Raiden then invited his disciples. There's currently a banquet hosted by the monarchs of Edenia within the palace. I shall make you a portal there, to the victor and vanquished despoils. One by one they went through, except Aiko. If I may, Master Raiden, I hereby decided to change my mind, Frederick spoke. I won't be partaking in the Battle of Armageddon. It's too overwhelming for me, and I don't want Aiko to be left alone. Well then, why did you decide to take on the test? Lao was dumbfounded. I just wanted to test myself, see what I can do as a scout. Besides, they were fun. Huh? Oh, I see. And he always responds with that. I'll stay with Aiko for now. Besides, Liu and Kitana have some catching up to do, so I might want to spend our last minutes with them. How would you announce it to them, Lord Raiden? Fusion? Something will come up, the Wind God said. So, the trio promised to return for a final time before embarking on what would soon be the advent of their final destiny. Oh good, I'm done. So there are the songs for that, yada yada yada. A little callback to the original. So, there's Dante's Peak, Star Fox Adventures, Majora's Mask, yada yada yada. And you'll see my virtual soundtrack. I honestly didn't have a lot of ideas for Rain. I was never impressed with him throughout the series, excepting as being a nod to Boone's favorite musician Prince with Purple Rain. So I kind of figured on Bo redeeming himself and spilling the beans of his origin. quite interesting. And it seems that Taven's like the golden child as his bros went corrupt due to their status and their parents betraying them. I feel a little bad on Rain being a bastard and abandoned as a boy, even him and Dagon turning rogue. I'm starting not to like Argus much since he cheated on his family. Delia and Taven, aside from the dragons, are the only ones who seem trustworthy. As long as Taven doesn't do anything stupid like he did in Conquest. The idea in having Frederick changing his mind on being in the Armageddon fight was based on his idea during one of our role plays. He also seems like a nice guy wanting to stay with Aiko as she wasn't qualified due to her lack of motor skills and being a glass cannon. Literally. At least she ain't a Mary Sue, unlike most OCs. Phalanx. I wasn't too crazy about the minigames, as I could never figure out the OG trial out. Always failed at it. The only thing I was able to pull off easily was the spear and toasty fatality with Scorpion. I know, pathetic. I'm not kidding. I never pulled them off. I was hoping to get to the climax, the Armageddon battle, but there are still more loose ends to tie up. Very frustrating. So I guess I'll take another chapter then. At least, I wrapped up the feud between Bihan and Hanzo involving Kenshi. Yeah, that was a good move. So, until the next chapter, this is the Ikran Rider signing out.